Hey there, guys and girls. How's it going today? It's East Kentucky Calisthenics back at it again with another training video, another training log. Today, you guys can see how my main leg day training went. I think this is probably around maybe the fourth or fifth main leg day that I've had after having knee surgery back in December. For those of you that don't know, I've had knee surgery 2 times on my left knee. The first was in 2018. I had a ruptured ACL and a torn left medial meniscus, which is the little lubricating disc that sits on the inside of our knees. Mine in particular was the left knee. That little disc had kind of torn and had flipped into the joint, and was making the joint really unstable. And then on top of that, something that was really nasty and excruciatingly painful that I never will forget was that ruptured ACL. I had to go about 5 or 6 months without walking. That was a very terrible time in my life. I think back about that all the time, and that's why I say a few extra prayers on leg day, and I always try to be extra careful, extra careful on leg day, as in order to avoid or try to decrease my chances of something like that ever happening again. Mine was believed to be, severe car accident related and unrelated necessarily to the workout, but that's a different story for a different day. Anyways, back in December last year, I was doing some kickboxing, and when I struck the bag, I felt something, and felt like I pulled a muscle in my knee. And unfortunately, I did not pull a muscle, but I had re-torn the medial meniscus, that little lubricating disc. Thankfully, I am so thankful. That while this was a very serious injury and it did require surgical fixation, it was nowhere near astronomically. This is an astronomical difference between that knee surgery and the one I had in 2018. I could walk better 2 days after surgery than before surgery, and as you can see, I'm doing pretty good at this point in my recovery. I'm starting to get the strength of both legs to even up. Now, I will say there is still definitely an obvious difference that I can personally feel between the two legs. The right leg is still much stronger than the left, and it's been that way, obviously since surgery. I guess you'd say and before surgery as well, but something I was able to notice today is that the difference between the two legs is starting to get smaller, and the strength between the two legs is starting to even up. There still is definitely a difference, but it's not as significant as it was over the past few weeks. So I'm thankful for that. Just got to keep doing what I'm doing and taking things slow, and really hoping and praying that everything holds together and I don't have to go through any more knee surgeries the rest of my life. As someone who is almost 31 years old and has had, the list of injuries I've had, I would just really like to not ever experience that stuff again. Anyways, this is my second time after knee surgery hitting these Bulgarian split squats. I could feel the difference here between the legs, but like I was saying, the difference is getting smaller, and I felt a lot stronger on these, even on the weak leg. So I could definitely feel some practice, or I could definitely feel some progress being made, through my training. And that's not part of the exercise, me holding my arm up there. But as you see there was a little spider that had blown through the wind. He was hanging by his web off of my hand. So I had to kind of toss him off to the side. I didn't really want to hold on to the spider and pet it. I love animals, but pretty terrified of spiders. I think spiders are terrifying. But anyways, that is also a different conversation for a different day. Here I'm hitting the strong leg. And, things were feeling pretty good on these Bulgarian split squats. There was a subtle difference, between the two legs. But overall, I felt a lot stronger. And like I was saying, the difference between the two legs is getting smaller. But I'm still definitely being mindful, especially on this left leg, to try and take things slow and, not try to do too much in too short of time span. Because if you're not careful, you can re-injure yourself that way. If you'll notice also with that left hand there, I was kind of trying to get down where I could touch the ground, but that's another thing. I don't really want to bend the knee too far. I think if I could get down where I could touch the ground, that would be at about the deepest I would ever want to squat. That would probably be about 90 to 100 degrees of flexion or bend in that knee. And really, as I've said before, bending the knee past 90 degrees, in a real fancy terms, has diminishing returns. But simply put, the gains you get from squatting very deep are very negligible compared to the first part of the bend. And also, when you start squatting past 90 degrees, your chances of injury go up significantly. So, in my opinion, as I've said before, I don't really think it is worth it to squat past 90 degrees, especially if you have had lower limb injuries like myself. Here we're getting into some hamstring curls on the rings. I'm not trying to hide my face, from the video. I am trying to hide my face, but I'm not trying to hide it from the video. I'm trying to hide it from the sun. The sun was very intense today. We're talking 70, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, somewhere in that area, somewhere around 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. It was a beautiful day, but the sun was very intense. The UV radiation was very high. Anyways, on these hamstring curls, I was really trying to squeeze them and hold on to them. You can see there, especially at the end of the sets, but on each rep, I believe I was also trying to do a mini pause at full contraction. And let me just tell you, I could really feel this in my hamstrings. You see me shaking there, shaking it out a bit. My hamstrings were definitely feeling this. I think the second set, I turned up the intensity a little bit and tried to pull even harder on that contraction. And if you guys have rings at home and you've never tried this before, I definitely recommend trying this. You will really feel this in your legs, in your hamstrings. It's great. It adds that stabilization factor, just like the rings do for your arms and your shoulders, except it's adding it to your legs and your hips. I'm a huge fan of the rings. I could brag on the rings for a long amount of time. But just in short, if you have rings at home, try this exercise. You'll really like it. And over time, I may try to progress into doing this with one leg at a time. But for now, as I was saying earlier on, I'm trying to take things slow in order to try and decrease my chances of re-injuring something or perhaps even causing a new injury. Yeah, I was really feeling that one. Really feeling that in the hamstrings. Yeah, had to really give that a shake before I tried to stand up. Alrighty, let's hit some calf raises. On these calf raises today, I tried to turn up the stabilization factor difficulty. You'll see here in just a second, I try putting that hand on the bottom of the parallel bar. I'm trying to minimize the balance assistance, therefore making the dominant leg that's doing the calf raises responsible not only for doing the contraction of what's called the gastrocnemius muscle in our calves, but also responsible and making that whole leg responsible for balancing my body weight. And it's the same principle of using gymnastics rings or the Bosu balance board. You're working those stabilizer muscles, and those stabilizer muscles are really what sets you apart from where you've been before you started training the stabilizer muscles. Like you'll really feel a difference, to say the least. It's one thing to do pull-ups on pull-up bar and handstands on the ground, but it's another thing to do pull-ups on the rings or handstands on a Bosu balance board. I really love to work stabilization. It's these little subtle details. You can see there I have one finger on top of the parallel bars. That was very that was very difficult and challenging, especially on this weak leg. But that's why we're training. We're trying to struggle to do things if we're training, and we're not struggling during our training. If we're not feeling muscle fatigue, like you can see me feeling there, then we need to change something in our training because we're not training correctly. You always want things to be difficult. You always want to be struggling during working sets, and you always want to be feeling the fatigue, and things like that towards the end of your working sets. Anytime you see, or I guess anytime you feel muscles shaking or quivering during a working set, that is how you know you're making gains. When that muscle starts to shake, you know those fibers are really being stressed, they're being broken down. And when we go and we rest and we recover, our bodies build ourselves back just a little bit stronger, because we are adaptation machines. And over time, that's how we become stronger and more athletic. But anyways, starting to stretch out, shake things out for the day. It was a good little leg training day. I'm pretty happy with the overall length of this video. I was able to get it down quite a bit under 20 minutes. And that's not bad at all for a full training day. I am a bit concerned as to how long the skill day training video will be, but I will also I'll continue to try and get the overall training log video length down. It's a beautiful day, great day training. My legs held together, and I felt, like I was saying earlier on, I could still feel a difference between the strength in each leg. But, things are getting more even, so I'm very thankful for that. You just have to take things slow and listen to your body, and, don't ever be in a hurry. We have our whole lives to get stronger. We have our whole lives to master any skill that we're training. So just enjoy your workouts, enjoy the grind, but don't ever try to do too much at once, and don't ever try to do something that is too difficult, because you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have an accident or an injury, and I say that from personal experience numerous times, where I have, done what I just said not to do. Anyways, coming up on the end of the video here. I actually broke a sweat today. You know, it's been so cool. I haven't really been sweating. But you know, that was a little bit different today. The sunball was just so intense that I was breaking a sweat. So, you know, that was a change of pace. But anyways, that's the end of my rambling for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.